Today's show will consist of a coffee from Colombia and a coffee from the Congo. Both coffees being brewed in front of your very eyes and tasted by yours truly. My name's Louis Sheldon, you're looking out of my bedroom window, and welcome to Coffee Time. Hello and welcome to the show. So today, as I said, I'm going to be brewing a Colombian coffee and a Congo coffee and putting them against one another. If you are interested in tasting these coffees yourselves, be sure to brew along. Have a go with me, see what your opinion is. Now, a pre-warning, even if you don't have these two coffees, the things I'll be talking about here are things you can identify within your own coffees. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. For the purposes of today's video, I'm going to be using different mugs for each coffee. This mug is for the Colombian coffee. This mug is for the Congo coffee. Fun fact, Congo coffee is now my favourite phrase. So, let's get the water boiling. Let's have a nice amount of water in the jug. Set that going. Set that going. Get that going. So, what we're doing today, we're going to do an identical V60 brew. We're going to take one V60 and do the exact same amount, exact same brew method, and hopefully get the exact same brew of coffee. Therefore meaning the only difference will be the coffee itself. So, as that boils, let me tell you a bit about this one. It's called Casa Loma. There's 250 grams of it. It is grown by Ramiro Suarez. I haven't pronounced that right, and I can feel it as I say it. It's a medium roast coffee. This coffee is from the Congo, and it's grown in Sopakdi. I haven't pronounced that correctly either. And this one is, it says it's a medium, but it is much darker, about half a shade darker than the Colombian. Now that's just something that should be taken into account while tasting. Now as that's going, I'm going to use just a tap, just to get rid of that papery taste. Now, a lot of the time you'd want to use hot water to pre-wet and preheat your V60, and that means that you lose as little thermal energy as possible. However, the only hot water I have is currently still in the kettle, and for time's sake, I'm just going to go without. So, what I'm doing is I'm taking a hearty scoop of coffee, making sure that it overflows, and evening it off so we get the exact amount of intended coffee, which comes to 18 grams, which is actually a really nice little ratio to be going with. For a regular cup of coffee, you want to be brewing 18 grams to about 250 grams of water. That is standard, it's what most professionals use, and of course, I'm a professional. So, let's get this going. Timer 30 seconds. We've wet the coffee and we've just given it a little swirl just so the coffee is activated, just so it's going. Now, while we do that, we're going to take the Congo coffee. We're going to get the exact same amount by scooping it off. There we go, lovely and level. Lovely, lovely and level. And that's just going to wait there. A wonderful thing about today's video is that we're able to support fair trade farmers, something which is very important to the coffee community. Now, Colombia has one of the biggest coffee trades in the world, and I'm speaking like a BBC News reporter as I'm talking about something that's actually quite serious. If you really want to support coffee brewers around the world, please buy fair trade. Even if the brand of something is really something you like, or if the flavours are just that little bit better, fair trade is such an important thing to be doing. So please make sure you're doing that, it is a massive help. But anyway, back to the coffee. What I've done there is I've just filled it up, and I'm just going to fill it up again. Just letting that drain through, and we take a spoon and we disrupt it. Without channeling, this drain shouldn't take too long. It should be a decent enough brew and a decent enough time. So while we're doing that, make sure you've got your next mug ready because you're gonna have to be fast. Once this is about done, we're going to get straight on with brewing the next cup of coffee so they are as similar in heat as they can be for when I'm tasting them. Ideally, you'd want to be using two V60s so we can do it simultaneously and have them properly identical. However, I don't have one. If you'd like to support me by buying me one, I can't say no. However, enough about me trying to get freebies. Let's get some coffee going. So I'm gonna say that is about done. Right, so now we boil the water. Again, this shouldn't take long, but while we're doing that, we take the other filter paper, wet it with a bit of water, get that papery taste out. This is actually much faster than the first one. Going to pop that on there. Then we take the coffee, which we've already leveled off. Make sure you've already leveled it off and pop that in. When you pop it in, similar to the first one, make a little well in the coffee, just so we can spread it nice and evenly. That's boiling. And here we go. Timer 30 seconds. Just wetting the water now. Just letting that drain through. Give it the little swirl that we gave it on the first one. There we go. Just enough to disrupt it and make sure that all the coffee is evenly covered. If you are interested in brewing with coffee that you grind yourself, a good recommendation would be a hand grinder. I use the Hario hand grinder. I don't know the model number, but I think it's very good. You essentially, that's what you do, you know. That's what you do, and I think that grinding it yourself, while it isn't as consistent as these, is actually, you get that bit more flavour. However, today's is not hand grinded. Hand ground? Hand grinded? No. So, that is just dripping through there, just going all lovely and great. We add a little bit more because that's what we did on the first one. In a circular, remember, you always want to pour in a circular motion to make sure you're doing everything properly. If I'm brutally honest, I don't know the exact reason for doing in a circular motion. I'm pretty sure it's to cover all the coffee evenly. However, it might just be to look cool. So that's dripping through there. We've got a decent amount in both. I'm not going to be using milk today, and that is because I'm tasting the flavours as exact as I can. Instead, I'm going to be taking a glass of water, this glass in fact, and having a sip of that between each sip of coffee. Now, this is traditionally called coffee cupping. While I'm not doing it as professionally or as properly as one would normally do it, I think coffee cupping is something really interesting that I want to get into. If anyone out there knows anything about professional coffee cupping, has any tips, please reach out, that would be really great to know. But enough waffle, it's coffee time. Now both coffees are brewed, we're gonna move upstairs and I'm gonna see you in the tasting zone. Whoa! Whoa! Here we are, what a fast transition. How good was that? It was actually a lot longer than you'd expect, to the point of these being different cups of coffee. Yes, that's right, the power of cinema. So, here is our Colombian coffee. If that's incorrect, by the way, something will flash up on the screen now. I think I'm right. I hope I'm right, because I don't want to have to dub the word Colombian over Congo every time. Colombian. So, to the tasting. I have a glass of water here, just to cleanse the palate between each drink. Let's go first off with the Colombian. It's very acidic. It's quite dense. It's very sharp. Weirdly, there's a lot of fruity flavours in there. It doesn't feel harsh, but it feels strong. It's interesting. Let's go to the Congo, shall we? Most notably would be the difference in mouthfeel. Now I know that sounds pretentious, but it's true. This is a much softer, much more creamy feeling drink. It just feels like caramel. It's caramel. I wouldn't say it's any stronger than the first one. However, I think the flavours come across better. Side by side, this one's more fruity, this one's more caramelly. This one's it's sweeter, but it's softer. Whereas this one is bloody sharp. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you've benefited in some way. Now remember, this doesn't just apply to these 2 cups of coffee. There are many, many videos on the internet all about coffee cupping and coffee tasting, just to make you aware of where you can learn, how you can develop. Personally, I'm very new to the world of coffee tasting. I have a love for coffee, but I've not been doing it for very long. So I'll certainly be doing some more of this in my own time, and I think you should too. Remember to support your fair trade farmers. They're doing a fantastic job, evidently, as both of these coffees are from fair trade farmers. Don't forget it. A massive thank you to everyone who's watched until this point. I'll see you around. A voxel. Ooh, you're hard.